These are my top 10 must-have foods for fat loss. These are the exact foods that can get me from this to this in just 6 to 8 weeks. And be sure you wait till the end because at the very end, I will be talking about my favorite protein foods. And if you've ever heard us talk before, you know the importance of protein, especially during a fat loss phase. If you like these videos, do us a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. And just because this is my favorite list doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be your favorite list. So if there's certain foods that you like to have during your fat loss phases, drop them in the comments below. Let us all know. If there's some that you don't agree with on my list, also let us know as well. Now for me, this video is very timely. As winter is coming to an end and spring is starting to approach, I've packed on the usual unwanted pounds over the winter during our bulk season. And now it's time for me to cut down. And these foods that I'm about to go through are the 10 most popular, most common foods that I eat throughout the day. So if you're looking to get results like this, be sure to eat foods like I'm about to tell you. Now, the structure of this video is going to be broken up into 3 separate parts. Even though there's 10 foods, the first 3 will be fats, the next 3 will be carbs, and then the final 4 will be protein. And I'll explain each one why I eat it as often as I do. So first, we're going to talk about fats. And the reason fats are so important is because fats are going to help with your vitamins, with your minerals, your nutrients, but probably most importantly, especially for men, fat is going to help you with your hormone production and in particular with testosterone. So make sure you're not neglecting those healthy fats. On the flip side, just be careful because fats do have a much higher calorie count than carbs and protein. In fact, for every single gram of fat that you have, it's more than double the amount of calories that you would get from carbs or protein. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Now, the first fat I have on my list is avocado. I just like the way it tastes. I think it's super healthy. There's a lot of vitamins, a lot of minerals, a lot of benefits. I like the taste. I like the texture of it. And I think it's super versatile. So I'll put it in with a lot of the maybe more bland foods that I would typically have. But I do have usually half to 1 avocado almost every single day during the fat loss phase. Number 2, I have feta cheese. Very similar to avocado with the texture, with the taste. It just kind of adds a lot more to these bland dishes. And the reason I use feta compared to some other cheeses is I think, at least in my opinion, the taste is pretty similar and it's typically lower calorie. So once again, like I said, with the fats, you got to be careful with the calorie count. And feta is one of the best options you can have. It's super versatile if you're going to add it to any sort of omelet, if you're adding it to a salad, just to sprinkle on top. Always a good addition for some feta cheese. And then the third one here is olive oil. Be careful with your olive oil because the portion size, the serving size versus the calories can get out of hand super quick, but also a lot of health benefits for olive oil. One honorable mention that I didn't say because I probably wouldn't use it strategically, but admittedly, I do have a lot of light peanut butter during my fat loss phases. Now, it's not something that I would suggest that you do, but it does go to show you that not the end of the world if you have a vice or two that you're eating throughout your fat loss phase. Okay, so for me, the 3 fats that I typically indulge in, avocado, feta, olive oil, and then the sneaky peanut butter. Not to say that I don't have other fats, but these are the ones that I'm typically having on a regular basis. Okay, so the next 3 we're going to talk about will be the carbohydrates. Now, carbohydrates get a bad rap. Everyone tends to think that carbs are bad, that you need to avoid them. And admittedly, my carbs are probably lower than a lot of other people when I'm doing a fat loss phase, but I just like the way it makes me feel. Now, there are some benefits of carbs, which is why I wouldn't go low, like super low or no carb. And the biggest ones are going to be your energy, just how you feel, your mood. And then probably most importantly is your performance at the gym. So ideally, if you're doing a fat loss phase, it's not just the nutrition you're looking at, but you want to be working out consistently as well. Carbs are going to really help you with those strength gains and with the endurance to be able to sustain the workouts that you need. Okay, so the first one I'm going to talk about here for carbs, so number 4 on the list, will be sweet potato. I love the way it tastes, super versatile. You got a little bit of everything here. You got your protein, you got your carbs, you got some fiber, and it's a slow digesting carb, which means it's not going to spike your blood sugar instantly. And I just like the way it makes me feel. So personally, I prefer sweet potatoes over regular potatoes. If you don't, that's fine. Just my personal preference. The next one, a lot of people don't realize that vegetables in general are carbs. So I'm not going to list all the veggies I have because I do eat a ton of vegetables during my fat loss phase. But I'll pick one out specifically, and that's chickpeas. Now, chickpeas, you got to be careful because they are super high in calories. They are very high in carbs, but the reason I use it is because of how high it is in fiber. And I've made the mistake before of going really high on vegetables, really high in protein, kind of neglecting fiber, and it just wrecks your stomach. So make sure when you're doing a fat loss phase, you do include carbs, especially that are high in fiber. Sweet potatoes are kind of the same thing, but chickpeas for me really do the job of providing a ton of fiber, good carbs, and it's overall very healthy for you. And then number 6 will be fruit. And once again, a lot of people don't realize that fruit are also carbs. We tend to think of carbs as starchy carbs, pasta, rice, potatoes, but fruit and veggies are also carbs. I do have a lot of fruit. I wouldn't stress out too much. If fruit is your biggest issue, you're doing something right. So for me personally, blueberries are my go-to. I'll have them on its own. I'll have them with Greek yogurt. I'll have them in protein shakes. I just love the way they taste. They're super healthy. And I also like pineapple, especially during the summer when it's a nice hot day. I just find pineapple, I love the taste. And yeah, it makes me feel good. So those are my 3 carbs. We got sweet potatoes, we got veggies, but in particular, chickpeas, and then we got fruit, mostly blueberries, a little bit of pineapple sprinkled in there as well. And then finally, we're gonna move on to the protein section. And like I hinted early on in this video, this is gonna be the most important thing. When I look at some of our client successes, this one, this one, this one, all of them have in common a high protein diet. So it's very correlative. And the reason protein is so important is number 1, it helps you feel full. Now, if you're doing a fat loss phase, that means you're in a calorie deficit. So you're eating less and you're gonna feel hungry as a result. And one of the easiest ways to kind of mitigate that hunger is by increasing your protein. Another great thing about protein is gonna be with your recovery. So especially if you're new with working out at the gym and you just feel like beat up all the time, protein's gonna help with that muscle synthesis and just building and maintaining muscle. Protein's probably the most important macronutrient when it comes to your overall physique. So don't neglect your protein. Generally speaking, more is better. Now there is a ceiling, but most of you probably don't even have to worry about getting anywhere close to that. So make sure you're prioritizing your protein. I got 4 that I have almost on a regular basis here. Number 1 or number 7 on the list would be egg whites. I know not everyone loves it, so yes, you can technically have eggs instead of egg whites. Just keep in mind the calorie intake is going to be much higher. Fat intake is going to be much higher as well, so just adjust your serving sizes accordingly. But food volume per calorie, protein per calorie, I don't think you can get a better food than egg whites. I think they're versatile. You can use them as an omelet, as a scramble. You can even use them in some desserts. You can make protein pancakes with them, waffles, a ton of great stuff. So egg whites are probably my go-to. I think they're super easy to eat a ton of food, to feel full, keep your calories low, and keep your protein super high. Number 8 would be protein powder. Now specifically, whey protein powder. Now you don't have to have a protein powder supplement, especially if you're getting enough protein in your diet. For most guys, that's a super difficult thing to do. I also like using protein powder as a reason or an excuse to get a lot more sweetness in my diet. You're not having the typical desserts, high sugar foods. So protein powder, you can mix it in a shake. You can make the protein pancakes, like I said before. There's so many different things you can do with protein powder outside of just having protein powder and water. So use that as an excuse to get extra protein, to get that extra sweet, sugary feel, and super low calorie, very versatile, and relatively inexpensive when you look at it from a long-term point of view. Number 9, Greek yogurt. Once again, the versatility here is huge. So for me personally, I usually have my Greek yogurt mixed with the protein powder. It kind of has like an ice cream, frozen yogurt type of texture. I also like to have my Greek yogurt sometimes with just fruit. So I'll put my blueberries, I'll put some pineapple in there, but I do have a ton of Greek yogurt. I usually opt for the 0% fat just because the calories are going to be much lower. So your call, but just keep that in mind. The fat does matter for the Greek yogurt. And then the last one, kind of a meat option for you guys. I love ground turkey. So ground turkey is number 10, the last protein on my list. I personally don't dislike the taste. I know a lot of people do, but I think ground turkey is amazing for like stir fries. You can mix it up with a bunch of veggies, make a low calorie sauce, and I just love how versatile it is that way. You could have put chicken in this list as well. You can add fish instead as well. You could add stuff like beef and pork. Just be careful because the calories and the fat intake can get a little bit higher. But ground turkey for me is a staple. I'll typically have it anywhere between 3 to 4 times per week when I'm cutting fat. Just historically, it's worked really well for me. And if you're curious about how to put all of this together, I recently did a video explaining the 4 diets that have really worked well for me, but the fact that there was one that was by far the best for fat loss. So I'm going to link it. Make sure you click on that video, check it out so you can find out how to put all of these foods together and create a great plan for yourself. If you did enjoy the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you guys in the next one.